Hello. Today we're going to take a look at modern data integration and data mapping. The heart of every integration scenario is a relationship in between the source system and the target system, where you're going to get the data from and where you're going to send it to. And often there's business rules or transformation logic or quality controls that are put inside of that. It's not uncommon that people start out building these relationships with a spreadsheet, some kind of logical relationship in between that source and destination. Often these things become very large and unmanageable when you're dealing with multiple different systems and trying to have conditions in between these different environments. But it is a way that people do this. And it's also not uncommon that when these things are completed, they're handed over to a Java developer or any kind of developer for that matter. And they work with an environment that allows them to codify this using Java or whatever language of their choice to express that mapping and those relationships in between them. So that's one way of approaching it. Another approach is to have an abstraction away from the underlying system, which is done by some vendors and solutions out there. And it's an approach that basically says, oh, we're going to take bunch of data from the source system and we're going to load it into the target system. And that doesn't give you any kind of view into actually what's happening. You're very far abstracted away from what's happening underneath that environment, and it's very difficult to do to kind of trace routing or chain of custody or understand what's happening with your data. So we're going to look at how we do this inside Put It Forward using modern AI-based data tools to help map your data very quickly and build complex and dynamic relationships in between source and target systems. We're going to step into a business process that's already set up in here. This is a long-running multi-step business process. We won't get into that today. That's really outside the scope of this and is more of a orchestration manager or process manager type of scenario. But let's look in one of the steps in the process flow itself. We're going to step into the designer. The designer is where you see your source and destination systems, and there's demonstrations on the integration designer and its capabilities, which are not focused on here today. We're just going to focus on the data mapping. So I'm going to undo some data mappings that are inside this integration step. Now, there's an opportunity here to, you can manually select these and choose whatever fields that you like to use. You can also use the automated data mapper inside Put It Forward. The automated data mapper is an AI-powered engine that's going out in the back end there and interrogating the APIs of both systems. And in doing so, it's building up a dynamic relationship in between possible or probable sources and destinations in between those systems. So what I'm going to do here is accept this, and it's going to suggest a data mapping for me. And so that's really the beginning and the end of this. You don't have to go in and do complex, multi-layered, multi-tiered spreadsheets or be able to have to write Java code or any other type of code to be able to integrate these things together, but also be able to maintain the transparency to see what's happening inside of here. So that completes really the data mapping portion of this. Of course, you can always go in and add other business rules to this, maybe some if this, then that logic to these types of things here. So in this case here, we're going to look to see if the city equals Austin, then do something, and else otherwise, maybe it's Los Angeles or some other city that you need to go to. Very simple to apply business logic, and of course, it is readable inside of it. Again, that's a deeper conversation today. The point of today was just showing how we can map fields between unknown systems very quickly, very effectively, without having to do a lot of process overhead. Thank you for your time and your attention.